Admiral Una Park stood at the window of Orbital Prime Station and looked out at the stars. The station floated in neutral space, far from any planet or empire. It was the only place in the galaxy where all species could meet without fear. Today, the Galactic Council had called for a special summit. They said they wanted to discuss peace and cooperation with humanity. Una did not trust them. She had served in the human fleet for 23 years. She had fought in 3 wars and commanded thousands of soldiers. Her instincts told her something was wrong. Behind her, 9 other human women commanders talked quietly among themselves. Fleet Commander Hana Kim was checking her communication device. Strategic Commander Sujin Cho was reviewing documents on her tablet. The others stood in small groups, all wearing their formal military uniforms. They were the best commanders humanity had. The Galactic Council had specifically requested their presence at this summit. At the time, Earth's government thought it was a sign of respect. Now, standing in this cold station surrounded by alien guards, Una was not so sure. The door opened with a soft sound. Ambassador Vorik of the Kelthari Empire walked in. He was tall, with gray skin and 4 arms. His eyes were completely black, like deep holes in his face. Behind him came 12 armed Kelthari soldiers. "Admiral Park," Vorik said. His voice was cold. "Thank you for coming." "Ambassador Vorik," Una replied. She kept her voice calm and professional. "When does the summit begin?" Vorik smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "There is no summit, Admiral." Una's hand moved toward her sidearm, but the Kelthari soldiers raised their weapons first. Red targeting lights appeared on the chests of all 10 human commanders. "What is the meaning of this?" Hana demanded. She stepped forward, her eyes burning with anger. "The Galactic Council has voted," Vorik announced. "You 10 commanders are under arrest for crimes of aggressive expansion against member species. You will be held until humanity agrees to our terms." Sujin laughed bitterly. "Aggressive expansion? We have defended ourselves from attacks. Nothing more. That is not how the Council sees it," Vorik said. "Humanity has grown too fast. You have taken too much territory. You have become a threat to galactic peace. By removing your military leadership, we will force your government to accept new boundaries and restrictions." Una looked at the soldiers surrounding them. She counted the weapons, measured the distances, calculated the odds. They were bad odds. Even if they fought, some of her commanders would die, and they were far from any human ship or station. "You are making a terrible mistake," Una said quietly. Vorik laughed. "Humans always say such things. You are a young species. You have been in space for only 200 years. We have ruled this galaxy for thousands of years. We know how to handle problems like you. You do not understand us," Una continued. "You think taking us will make humanity afraid. You think our government will bow to your demands to save us. But that is not how humans work." "Then how do humans work, Admiral?" Vorik asked with amusement. "We do not abandon our own. Ever. No matter the cost." Vorik waved his hand dismissively. "Pretty words. But words cannot stop plasma rifles. Take them to the prison cells." The Kelthari soldiers moved forward and roughly grabbed the commanders. They took their weapons, their communication devices, everything. Una did not resist. She knew that fighting now would only get her people killed. But as they pushed her toward the door, she turned and looked at Vorik one more time. "Remember this moment, Ambassador. Remember that I warned you." Vorik just smiled and watched them go. 3 hours later, the news reached Earth. President Taeho Lee was in his office when his chief advisor burst through the door. "Sir, we have an emergency transmission from Orbital Prime." Taeho stood up immediately. "Show me." The screen on his wall lit up with Ambassador Vorik's face. Behind him, the 10 human commanders stood in chains. Una's face was bruised. Someone had hit her. "People of Earth," Vorik began. "The Galactic Council has taken your military commanders into custody. They are charged with crimes against the peace of the galaxy. If you wish to see them again, You will accept our terms. You will withdraw from 40% of your territory. You will reduce your fleet by half. You will pay compensation to the species you have harmed. You have 1 week to respond. The transmission ended. Tejo stared at the dark screen. His hands were shaking, but not from fear. From rage. Get me Admiral Sunwoo Baek, he said quietly, and call an emergency session of the World Defense Council. Every member. Right now. His advisor hesitated. Sir, what are we going to do? Tejo turned to look out the window. From his office, he could see the city of Seoul stretching to the horizon. Millions of people living their lives, trusting their government to protect them and their soldiers. The Galactic Council thinks we are weak, Tejo said. They think we are young and afraid. They think we will sacrifice our pride to save 10 lives. He turned back to his advisor. They are about to learn how wrong they are. Within 2 hours, the World Defense Council assembled. Leaders from every nation on Earth joined the emergency meeting. Admiral Sunwoo Baek stood before them in his full military uniform. He was 60 years old, with gray hair and sharp eyes that had seen countless battles. Ladies and gentlemen, Sunwoo began, you have all seen the transmission. The Galactic Council has seized 10 of our finest commanders. They believe this action will force us to surrender without a fight. What are our options? Asked the European representative. Sunwoo pressed a button, and a holographic map of the galaxy appeared above the table. We have 3 options. First, we accept their terms. We give up our territory, reduce our fleet, and hope they return our commanders. Unacceptable, said the African representative immediately. Second, Sunwoo continued, we negotiate. We try to find a middle ground that satisfies both sides. They took our people in chains, Tejo said coldly. There is no middle ground. Sunwoo nodded slowly. Then there is only the third option. We go to war. The room fell silent. War with the Galactic Council meant war with 12 different species. Their combined fleet was 3 times the size of humanity's. Their territory covered half the galaxy. Can we win? The Asian representative asked. Sunwoo looked at each face around the table. I do not know. But I know this. If we bow to them now, we will bow to them forever. They will take more and more until there is nothing left. And our commanders, our sisters and daughters, will know that we abandoned them. Tejo stood up. The decision is clear. We do not negotiate with those who take our people. We do not surrender to threats. We fight. Ansa, one by one, every representative nodded their agreement. Admiral Baek, Tejo said formally, you have full authority to respond to this act of war. Sunwoo saluted. Yes, Mr. President. As he walked out of the room, Sunwoo allowed himself a small, grim smile. The Galactic Council had made their move. Now it was humanity's turn, and they would never see it coming. Admiral Sunwoo Baek stood on the bridge of the HSS Eternal, the largest warship humanity had ever built. Around him, officers worked at their stations with focused efficiency. The ship hummed with power, ready for whatever command he would give. Through the main view screen, Sunwoo could see the Earth fleet assembling. Hundreds of warships moved into formation. Destroyers, cruisers, battleships, and carriers all answered the call. They came from every corner of human space, leaving only minimal defenses behind. This was the largest military gathering in human history, and it had happened in less than 48 hours. Admiral, his communications officer called out. The fleet is assembled. All 217 vessels report ready. Sunwoo nodded. Open a channel to all ships. Channel open, sir. Sunwoo stood straight and looked into the camera that would broadcast his face to every ship in the fleet. He thought of Yuna Park, chained and bruised in some alien prison. He thought of the 9 other commanders with her. He thought of every human who had ever died fighting for their right to exist in this galaxy. Soldiers of the Earth fleet, he began. 3 days ago, the Galactic Council committed an act of war against our species. They seized 10 of our commanders. 10 women who have dedicated their lives to protecting humanity. They did this because they believe we are weak. They believe we will accept their demands to save these 10 lives. He paused and let his words sink in. They are wrong. On every ship in the fleet, crews stopped what they were doing to listen. We do not abandon our own, Sun Wu continued. Not one soldier. Not one citizen. When they took our commanders, they did not just take 10 women. They challenged everything humanity stands for. They challenged our honor. They challenged our unity. They challenged our right to exist as free people in this galaxy. His voice grew stronger. I have been given full authority by President Taeho Lee and the World Defense Council to respond to this challenge, and our response is simple. The Galactic Council has 48 hours to return our commanders, unharmed and with full apology. If they fail to do this, we will come for them. And we will not stop until every one of our people is safe. On the bridge of the Kelthari flagship, Ambassador Vorik watched the transmission with amusement. Around him, his military advisors laughed. They are threatening us, one of the advisors said. Their entire fleet is barely larger than our border patrol. Vorik smiled. Humans are entertaining. They truly believe they can fight the combined forces of the Galactic Council. Should we increase our defenses? Another advisor asked. Vorik waved his hand dismissively. Why bother? Let them come if they dare. Our fleet will destroy them in hours. This will be a good lesson for other young species who think they can challenge our authority. He switched off the transmission and turned to his military commander. Send a response. Tell them their deadline means nothing to us. Tell them if they attack, we will destroy not just their fleet, but their homeworld as well. Make sure every species in the galaxy sees this message. The response reached Earth within hours. President Taeho Lee watched it with cold eyes. The Galactic Council does not respond to threats from inferior species, Vorik's recorded message stated. Your commanders are criminals and will be treated as such. Any military action against Council forces will be met with total destruction. You have been warned. Taeho turned off the screen and looked at his advisors. What is the status of our fleet? Ready to launch on your command, sir, his military advisor replied. Admiral Bake reports all ships at full combat readiness. And our special project? The advisor hesitated. Also ready, sir. But are you sure you want to use it? If it fails, it will not fail, Taeho said firmly. Humanity has been preparing for this moment for 50 years. The Council thinks they know our strength. They have no idea. He stood and walked to the window. The sun was setting over Seoul, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. It was beautiful and peaceful. Soon, that peace would end. Send the order, Taeho said quietly. Tell Admiral Bake. The deadline is active. When it expires, he has full permission to begin operations. The deadline passed at exactly midnight, Earth Standard Time. Admiral Sun Wu Bake stood on his bridge and watched the final seconds tick away. When the clock reached 0, he felt no hesitation. No doubt. All ships, he announced, begin Operation Phoenix. Across human space, the fleet moved. But they did not move toward a single target. Instead, they split into 12 groups, each heading in a different direction. The Galactic Council had expected a direct attack on Orbital Prime to rescue the commanders. They had gathered their defensive fleet there, waiting for humans to throw themselves against their guns. But Sun Wu was not stupid. He knew a direct assault would fail. So instead of attacking where the Council was strong, he attacked where they were weak. 12 Council military stations. 12 different locations spread across the galaxy. Each one was essential for supplying and coordinating Council forces. And each one was now under attack. On the station designated Target 7, Commander Jiho Choi led the assault. His battle group of 20 ships emerged from hyperspace directly above the station. The Council forces there had only 3 patrol ships to defend it. All weapons, fire, Jiho commanded. The human ships unleashed their full power. Missiles streaked toward the station, while plasma cannons tore through the patrol ships. The Council defenders tried to respond, but they were overwhelmed within minutes. Sir, the station's shields are failing, his tactical officer reported. Launch boarding teams, Jiho ordered. I want that station captured, not destroyed. We need its intelligence data. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out at all 12 targets. The Council had never expected such a coordinated, widespread attack. They had assumed humans would fight like every other young species. Desperate, disorganized, focused only on their immediate goal. They were wrong. Within 6 hours, humanity had destroyed or captured 11 of the 12 targets. Only one attack failed, and that battle group retreated before taking heavy losses. The total damage to Council forces was devastating. 30% of their supply stations gone, hundreds of ships destroyed, thousands of soldiers captured. Ambassador Vorek received the reports on his flagship. His face had gone pale. His advisors no longer laughed. How is this possible? Vorek demanded. How did they coordinate attacks across such distances? How did they know where our stations were? No one had answers. Sir, his communications officer said nervously. We are receiving a transmission from the human fleet. Show me. Admiral Sun Wu Baek appeared on the screen. His face was calm, almost relaxed. Ambassador Vorek, Sun Wu said. This was our first response. We have destroyed your supply network. Your fleets are now cut off from reinforcements and resources. But this is nothing compared to what comes next. He leaned closer to the camera. You have our commanders. We are coming for them. And for every hour they remain in your custody, we will destroy another piece of your empire. You wanted war with humanity. Now you have it, and we do not lose. The transmission ended. Vorek sat in silence for a long moment. For the first time since this crisis began, he felt something he had not felt in centuries. Fear. The humans had been underestimated. They had prepared for this war long before the Council even considered it. And now, the galaxy was about to learn what happened when humanity decided to fight. The war had only just begun. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from 12 different species shouted at each other, their voices mixing into a storm of anger and fear. Ambassador Vorek stood at the center, trying to maintain control. But even his authority was crumbling. You promised this would be simple. The Draxian representative screamed. His blue skin had turned almost purple with rage. You said humans would surrender immediately. Now our supply stations are burning. My people lost 4 warships defending Target 3, the Morvian delegate added. Her voice was cold as ice. Warships we cannot replace quickly. And for what? Your political games? Vorek raised all 4 of his arms. Please, everyone, calm down. This is a temporary setback. The humans have surprised us, yes, but they cannot maintain this pace of attack. Their fleet is small. Their resources are limited. We simply need to reorganize and counterattack. Counterattack where? Another representative demanded. The humans are everywhere. They attack one location, then disappear before our fleets can respond. It is like fighting shadows. This was true, and Vorek knew it. In the 3 days since Operation Phoenix began, human forces had struck 17 more targets. They did not hold territory. They did not occupy stations. They simply destroyed and moved on, leaving chaos behind them. Far from the council chamber, Commander Jiho Choi led his battle group through the outer defense grid of the Kelthari homeworld. This was the most dangerous mission yet. The Kelthari were the strongest species in the council. Their homeworld was protected by hundreds of defense satellites and 50 warships. But Jiho had not come to fight those defenses directly. All ships, maintain stealth protocols, he ordered. His voice was calm despite the danger. Navigation. Take us through the debris field around the third moon. Yes, sir. Adjusting course. The human ships slipped through space like ghosts. They had modified their engines to reduce their energy signatures. From a distance, they looked like nothing more than space debris drifting through the system. Sir, we are approaching the primary communication hub, his tactical officer reported. It is lightly defended. Only 2 patrol ships and a small station crew. Jiho nodded. That hub coordinates all defensive communications for this system. Without it, their ships cannot coordinate their responses. We take it out, and their entire defense grid becomes blind for hours. But sir, once we attack, every ship in the system will know we are here. Then we better be fast, Jiho replied with a small smile. All weapons, target the hub. Fire on my mark. He waited until the patrol ships were on the far side of their orbit, maximizing the time before they could respond. Mark. 20 human ships opened fire simultaneously. The communication hub never had a chance. Its shields collapsed in seconds, and the station itself broke apart under the concentrated assault. Alarms immediately began sounding across the Kelthari system, but the damage was done. Defense satellites lost their coordination. Warships received contradictory orders. The once perfect defense grid fell into confusion. All ships. Emergency jump. Jiho commanded. Rendezvous point. Delta 7. Before the Kelthari could respond, the human ships vanished into hyperspace. On the Kelthari homeworld, Vorik received the news with growing horror. His own planet's defenses had been compromised. Not destroyed, but crippled, and the humans had escaped without losing a single ship. How are they doing this? He whispered to himself. His military advisor approached carefully. Ambassador, we have analyzed their tactics. The humans are using a strategy we have never seen before. They call it distributed warfare. Instead of concentrating their fleet for major battles, they split into small groups that strike quickly and retreat. I can see that, Vorik snapped. But how do they coordinate? Our intelligence suggested human technology was inferior to ours. Their technology is inferior in most areas, the advisor admitted. But their communication systems are surprisingly advanced. They use quantum-encrypted channels that we cannot intercept or jam. Every ship in their fleet receives orders simultaneously, no matter how far apart they are. Vorik sat down heavily. The humans had been underestimated. Not just by him, but by the entire council. They had assumed that a young species with a small fleet could not pose a real threat. They had not considered that humans might fight differently than anyone else. Back on Earth, Admiral Sunwoo Baek reviewed the reports from all his battle groups. The war was going better than he had hoped. Council forces were scrambling to defend everywhere at once, which meant they were weak everywhere. But Sunwoo knew this could not last forever. Eventually, the Council would adapt. They would learn to counter human tactics. And when that happened, the war would become a bloody battle of attrition that humanity might not survive. We need to end this quickly, he said to his command staff. What is the status of the rescue mission planning? Commander Nari Song stepped forward. She was the leader of Earth's Special Operations Division, a tall woman with short black hair and eyes that missed nothing. We have located where the commanders are being held, Admiral. They are on a maximum security prison station in the Vorath system. It is deep inside Council territory. Defenses? Heavy. The station itself has powerful shields and weapons. There are always at least 10 warships in the system. And after our attacks, they have likely increased security further. Sunwoo studied the holographic map showing the prison station. It was surrounded by layers of defense. A direct assault would cost many lives, and there was no guarantee of success. We need a distraction, he said finally. Something big enough to pull those warships away from the station. Nari nodded. I have an idea, Admiral. But it is risky. Nari. Tell me, we attacked the Council capital station, not to destroy it, but to threaten it. The Council will have no choice but to respond with everything they have, including the ships guarding our commanders. The room fell silent. The Council capital station was the most heavily defended location in the galaxy. Attacking it seemed like suicide. We would not need to actually fight them, Nari continued. Just appear threatening enough that they panic. While their attention is on us, a small stealth team slips into the Vorath system and extracts our people. Sunwoo considered the plan. It was dangerous. Many things could go wrong, but it might be the only way to rescue the commanders without losing half the fleet. How long do you need to prepare the extraction team? He asked. 2 days, Admiral. Then you have 2 days. After that, we move on the capital. This war ends with our people coming home. On the prison station, Admiral Una Park sat in her cell and waited. She had no way to know what was happening outside. The guards gave them no information. But she could feel something changing. The guards seemed nervous. There were more patrols, more security checks. Something was coming. Hana Kim was in the cell next to her. They had found a way to communicate by tapping on the walls, using an old code they had both learned as young officers. They are scared, Hana tapped. Good, Una tapped back. That means our people are fighting. Do you think they will come for us? Una smiled in the darkness of her cell. She thought of Sun Woo Baek, her old friend and fellow commander. She thought of the fleet she had helped build. She thought of the soldiers she had trained. Yes, she tapped firmly. They will come. And when they do, the council will wish they had never heard of humanity. In her heart, she knew it was true. Humanity never abandoned its own. No matter how long it took, no matter what the cost, her people would come, and that day was coming soon. Commander Narisong checked her weapon one final time. Around her, 30 of Earth's best Special Forces soldiers prepared for the most important mission of their lives. They sat in the cargo bay of a small stealth ship, hidden behind a large asteroid in the Vorath system. Through the tiny viewport, Nari could see the prison station floating in the distance. It looked peaceful, surrounded by the soft glow of its own lights. But she knew that inside those walls, 10 of humanity's bravest women were waiting to be rescued. Final equipment check, she ordered quietly. Sound off. One by one, her soldiers confirmed they were ready. They carried cutting-edge weapons and special suits that would help them move undetected through the station. They had trained for this mission for 2 weeks straight. They knew every corridor, every guard rotation, every possible problem. But still, Nari felt nervous. So many things could go wrong. Her communication device buzzed. Rescue team, this is Admiral Baek. The main fleet is beginning its approach to the council capital. Enemy ships are already responding. You have a 30-minute window. Use it well. Understood, Admiral, Nari replied. We will not fail. Far across the galaxy, the human fleet emerged from hyperspace near the council capital station. Alarms screamed throughout the station as hundreds of council ships rushed to defend it. Ambassador Vorek was pulled from his sleep to coordinate the response. They are actually attacking the capital? He said in disbelief. Have they gone completely mad? They outnumber our current defense force 2-1, his military advisor reported nervously. We need reinforcements immediately. One weed? One. Vorek began issuing orders. Ships from every nearby system were called to protect the capital, including the 10 warships guarding the prison station. Back at Vorath, Nari watched as the council warships received their orders and jumped to hyperspace. Within minutes, only a small patrol ship remained to guard the prison station. That is our signal, Nari announced. Launch the shuttle. Weapons hot. The stealth shuttle detached from the larger ship and glided toward the station. Its engines were nearly silent, and its hull absorbed sensor signals. To the station's detection systems, it was invisible. Approaching docking port 7, the pilot reported. No signs of detection. Hold here, Nari ordered. Cutting team, move out. 2 of her soldiers floated out of the shuttle and attached themselves to the station's hull. Using specialized tools, they began cutting through the outer wall, bypassing the security of the official airlocks. Inside the station, the guards had no idea anything was wrong. Most of them were watching the news feeds about the attack on the capital, wondering if the war would spread to their quiet station. They would soon learn the answer. Breach complete, the cutting team reported. All teams, go, Nari commanded. 30 soldiers poured through the hole in the hull. They moved in perfect silence, their training turning them into shadows that flowed through the corridors. The first guards they encountered never even had time to raise their weapons. Special tranquilizer rounds put them to sleep instantly. Nari led her team toward the cell block where the commanders were held. According to their intelligence, it was on the lowest level of the station, behind 3 security checkpoints. First checkpoint ahead, her scout reported. 4 guards, 2 automated defense turrets. Team 2, handle the turrets. Team 1, take the guards. On my mark. She counted down silently. 3, 2, 1. Her soldiers moved like water. The turrets exploded from precisely placed charges. The guards collapsed from tranquilizer shots before they could react. It was over in less than 5 seconds. Move, move, move. Nari urged. We have 15 minutes. They reached the second checkpoint without further problems. The few guards they encountered were quickly neutralized. But the third checkpoint was different. It was a massive door made of reinforced metal, with a scanning system that required specific biometric codes to open. We do not have the codes, her technical specialist said. I can try to hack it, but it will take time. How much time? 5 minutes, maybe more. Nari grimaced. They did not have 5 minutes. Soon, the council would realize the attack on the capital was a distraction. When that happened, ships would come flooding back to the prison station. Do it, she ordered. Everyone else, defensive positions. We hold this corridor no matter what. Her specialist began working on the door while the rest of the team spread out. They did not have to wait long. Alarms began sounding throughout the station. Someone had finally discovered the unconscious guards. Contact! One of her soldiers shouted. Council security forces appeared at the end of the corridor. Unlike the regular guards, these were armed soldiers in full combat gear. They opened fire immediately. The corridor became a chaos of plasma bolts and bullets. Nari's soldiers fired back with deadly accuracy. But more enemies kept coming. For every one they dropped, 2 more appeared. How much longer on that door? Nari yelled over the gunfire. 2 minutes. A plasma bolt struck the wall near Nari's head. She ducked and returned fire, hitting a council soldier in the chest. But they were being pushed back. There were simply too many enemies. Door is open, her specialist finally announced. Fall back through the door. Team 3, cover fire. Her soldiers retreated through the massive doorway, while Team 3 laid down a wall of gunfire. Once everyone was through, they sealed the door behind them. It would not hold forever, but it would buy them precious time. The cell blocks spread out before them. Rows of doors lined both walls, each one containing a prisoner. Nari ran down the corridor, checking the names on each cell. Admiral Park, Commander Kim, can you hear me? We hear you, a voice called back. It was Admiral Yuna Park. We are in cells 12 through 21. Nari reached cell 12 and began working on the lock. Admiral, we are here to take you home. I knew you would come, Yuna said through the door. I never doubted it. The lock clicked open, and the door swung wide. Yuna Park stepped out, bruised but unbowed. Her eyes burned with fierce determination. Give me a weapon, she demanded. Nari handed her a spare pistol. Are you sure you are okay to fight, Admiral? Yuna checked the weapon with practiced ease. Commander, I have been waiting weeks for this moment. I am more than okay. One by one, the other commanders were freed. Hana Kim, Sujin Cho, and 7 others emerged from their cells. Despite their ordeal, they all demanded weapons. They all wanted to fight. We have a shuttle waiting, Nari explained quickly. But we have to go back through that door. There are a lot of enemies on the other side. Yuna smiled grimly. Then we give them something to remember. Lead the way. Commander Song. Nari nodded and gave the signal. Her soldiers opened the massive door and charged through, the freed commanders right behind them. The council forces waiting on the other side were not prepared for the fury that hit them. Yuna Park fought like a woman possessed. Weeks of captivity had not weakened her. It had only made her angrier. She moved through the enemy lines with terrible efficiency, her pistol never missing its target. This is for every day you held us, she shouted as she fired. The human force pushed through the station, leaving chaos in their wake. By the time they reached the breach in the hull, half of the council security force was unconscious, or worse. Everyone into the shuttle, Nari ordered. Move. The soldiers and commanders piled into the shuttle. As soon as the last person was aboard, the pilot launched toward open space. "Enemy ships incoming," the pilot warned. "The Council fleet is returning. Push the engines to maximum," Yuna ordered. She had automatically taken command, and no one questioned her right to do so. "Get us to the rendezvous point," the shuttle screamed through space, pursued by Council fighters. Plasma bolts streaked past the viewport. The small ship could not take many hits. Then, just when things looked desperate, space opened up in front of them. A human cruiser appeared from hyperspace, its guns already firing at the pursuing fighters. "This is the HSS Guardian," a voice came over the radio. "We have you covered. Get aboard immediately." The shuttle dove into the cruiser's hangar bay. The moment it was inside, the Guardian jumped to hyperspace, leaving the Council forces behind. In the hangar bay, Narration let out a breath she had not realized she was holding. They had done it. Against all odds, they had rescued all 10 commanders. Admiral Yuna Park stood in the center of the hangar, surrounded by her fellow commanders. She looked at Nari with deep gratitude. "You came for us," Yuna said simply. "Humanity never abandons its own," Nari replied. "Now let us go win this war." Admiral Yuna Park stepped onto the bridge of the HSS Eternal and felt like she was coming home. The familiar hum of the ship's engines, the soft glow of the control panels, the respectful salutes of the crew, it all washed over her like warm water. Admiral Sunwoo Baek stood waiting for her. When he saw her walk through the door, his face broke into a rare smile. "Welcome back, Admiral Park," he said. "It is good to be back." "Admiral Baek," Yuna clasped his hand firmly. "Now tell me everything. What is the status of the war?" Sunwoo led her to the tactical display. A holographic map of the galaxy showed the positions of both human and Council forces. "We have been hitting them hard. 43 military targets destroyed or captured. Their supply lines are broken. Their communication networks are damaged. Morale among Council species is collapsing. And our losses? Light, considering. 12 ships destroyed, about 200 casualties, most of them during the rescue mission that freed you." Sunwoo paused. "The people who died to bring you back were volunteers, every single one of them." Yuna felt a weight in her chest. Good soldiers had given their lives for her. She would carry that debt forever. "What about the Council itself?" she asked. "What is their status?" "That is the interesting part. They are falling apart. 3 species have already withdrawn from the war, claiming they never supported your arrest in the first place. The others are arguing among themselves about what to do next." Through the viewport, Yuna could see the human fleet assembled in formation. Over 200 warships floated in perfect order, ready for whatever came next. It was the most powerful force humanity had ever gathered. "It is time to end this," Yuna said quietly. "Not with more destruction, but with victory." "Where is the Council leadership?" "They have gathered at the capital station. Ambassador Vorik is trying to hold the alliance together, but he is failing." Yuna turned to face the crew on the bridge. They were all watching her, waiting to hear what their legendary commander would say. "Set course for the Council capital," she announced. "All ships. Maximum speed." The fleet moved as one, hundreds of warships jumping to hyperspace in perfect coordination. It was a display of power and unity that no other species in the galaxy could match. When they emerged near the Council capital, the defenders were waiting. But it was not the massive fleet that would have met them weeks ago. Only about 80 Council ships remained, and many of them looked damaged or poorly maintained. The war had taken its toll. "They are hailing us," the communications officer reported. On screen, Ambassador Vorik's face appeared. He looked tired and old. The confident arrogance he had shown when he arrested the commanders was completely gone. "Admiral Park," he said. His voice was hoarse. "I see you have escaped." "I was rescued," Yuna corrected. "By soldiers who believed that no one should be left behind. A concept your Council clearly does not understand." Vorik said nothing. "I am going to offer you something you do not deserve," Yuna continued. "Surrender now, unconditionally. And this war ends without more bloodshed. Refuse, and we will destroy your fleet. and occupy your station. The choice is yours. And if we surrender? What then? You will enslave our species? Destroy our worlds? Yuna shook her head. We are not like you, Ambassador. We do not punish entire species for the crimes of their leaders. If you surrender, there will be trials. You and the council members who voted for our arrest will answer for your actions, but your people will be unharmed. We want peace, not revenge. Vorik stared at her for a long moment. Behind him, Yuna could see other council representatives arguing. The alliance was crumbling before their eyes. You would show mercy? Vorik asked, his voice barely above a whisper. After everything we did? Mercy is not weakness, Yuna replied. It is strength. It is the choice to be better than those who wronged you. That is what makes humanity different. That is why you lost this war before it even began. One by one, the council representatives began signaling their surrender. Ships powered down their weapons. Defense stations lowered their shields. The war was ending, not with a final battle, but with a quiet acceptance of defeat. Vorik was the last to surrender. He looked into the camera with empty eyes. I never understood your species, he admitted. I thought you were weak because you cared about individual lives. I thought we could break you by taking your commanders. But caring about each other is not your weakness. It is your greatest strength. Yes, Yuna said simply. It is. The trials took place 3 months later, on the council capital station, now under human administration. Ambassador Vorik and 11 other council leaders faced charges of kidnapping, illegal imprisonment, and initiating an unprovoked war. President Taeho Lee traveled from Earth to deliver the opening statement. He stood before the assembled representatives of every species in the galaxy and spoke clearly. We did not want this war. We have never wanted war with anyone. But when our people were taken, when our commanders were chained and beaten, we had only one choice. We fought. Not because we love violence, but because we love each other. He looked at Vorik and the other defendants. These individuals believed they could control humanity through fear. They were wrong. And now, they will face justice. Not revenge. Justice. Because that is who we are. Vorik was sentenced to life imprisonment on a human-run facility. The other council leaders received similar punishments. Their empires were not destroyed or occupied, but they were required to pay reparations and submit to oversight to prevent future aggression. On the day the trials concluded, Admiral Yuna Park gave a speech that was broadcast across the galaxy. Today marks a new beginning, she said. Not just for humanity, but for all species. The old Galactic Council ruled through intimidation and force. That era is over. From now on, we will build something better. A community of equals, where no species is above another. Where disputes are solved through dialogue, not kidnapping. She paused and looked at the camera. To the species who stood with the Council against us, we bear you no hatred. You were following leaders who deceived you. We welcome you as partners in building a better future. And to any who might consider challenging humanity again, let me be clear. We do not seek conflict. We prefer peace. But if you threaten our people, if you try to hurt those we love, we will respond. Every time, without exception. The speech was met with silence at first. Then, slowly, applause began. It spread across the station, across the fleet, across hundreds of worlds watching the broadcast. Humanity had not just won a war, they had changed the galaxy. 6 months later, Admiral Yuna Park retired from active service. Her last act was to attend a ceremony honoring the soldiers who had died during the war. She read each name personally, ensuring that none would be forgotten. Commander Nari Song was promoted to Admiral. Commander Jiho Choi took over the fleet's tactical division. The other rescued commanders returned to their duties, each carrying new respect and authority. President Taeho Lee served 2 more terms, overseeing an era of unprecedented peace and cooperation between species. His name would be remembered for generations. And Admiral Sun Woo Baek, the man who had led humanity's response to the kidnapping, wrote a book about the war. Its final paragraph became famous throughout the galaxy. They took our commanders because they thought we were weak. They learned the truth the hard way. Humanity does not abandon its own. We never have. We never will. And any species that threatens our people will discover the same lesson that the Galactic Council learned. When you attack one human, you attack all of us. And that is a war you cannot win. The book sold billions of copies. It was translated into every language in the galaxy. And it served as a permanent reminder of the day humanity showed the universe who they really were. The 10 commanders who had started it all became legends. Their story was told and retold across thousands of worlds. And whenever a young species asked why humanity was so respected, the answer was always the same. Because they came for their people. Against all odds. Against an empire. Against the galaxy itself. They came. And they won.